Hello friends, just a warning, today's video is not about trucking. So if it's all about the trucking for you, you may want to wait for our next one or move on to something else. But if you're interested, stick around. Hello friends, this is Captain Dave with Simple Plan Trucking. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here in sunny Florida today. We're enjoying just a couple more days of home time. Brooke was feeling a little under the weather last week, so I went out and did a solo run by myself. Took a load from Georgia up to Springfield, and then another load back from Springfield down here to Moultrie, Georgia. So got home yesterday afternoon, taking care of a few more things here, getting the truck packed up today and early tomorrow. Then Thursday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, Thanksgiving, we're going to spend it with my brother and his family out in the country at their home. He has 8 children and many more grandchildren than I do, so we're going to have a fun day out there. Going at it alone today. Brooke's busy taking care of some other things, but it's been a while and I have had some things on my mind that I wanted to talk with you about, and some things that I think are really important about our world and how things are changing. We promised that it wouldn't always be about trucking. It's about our life and the things that are going on in our life, but it does specifically relate to trucking and to our journey and the things that we're doing. So stick around. Going to talk to you a little bit today about food prep and the importance of having enough food in tough times, what our plan is, and kind of how we came up with this plan. I guess a year and a half or so ago, I started looking at trucking as a career. It blew Brooke's mind at first. She came around to the idea, and I told her I didn't want to do it unless she came out with me. So I left the job that I had, went up to Springfield, went through training and orientation, and got my CDL. And then Brooke came along in February of this year, blasted through and took her training and trifected, got her CDL real quick. And then I guess around the 1st of March, we rolled out onto the road together. And I'm proud to say that just in the last 7 months, we've put 120,000 miles on the truck. So that tells you the difference between solo and team trucking. And we couldn't be happier with the results. This video is not about money at all, but I'll tell you that whatever your goals are, they're achievable. It all kind of relates to, it comes back to how hard you want to work and how hard you want to drive. So we're still trying to figure that out, finding that happy medium with making as much money as we can, but also enjoying life along the way. So we're home today, and one of the things that's bothered me over the last couple years, and specifically in the last year or so, is the idea of food shortages. If you follow the news at all, it really doesn't matter what your source is. You can kind of read between the lines and see that there are many, many factors contributing to shortages on the shelf and to higher prices. You all feel that, I'm sure, when you go to the grocery store. It has to do with production. It has to do with distribution, getting it here. There are many factors that play into why the prices of food have gone up. And we can talk about that at another time. But suffice it to say that the price of food has gone up. And I'm sure that if you're honest with yourself, you would recognize that even buying food, the things that you used to pick up, if you go into a Walmart or to a grocery store, the shelves aren't quite as full as they used to be. Many times things are missing. It's just not available when you want to buy it. And there's a lot of people that feel like that's probably going to get worse in the next year. Most experts, and I say that kind of with a grain of salt, most experts will tell you that the U.S. Is not going to experience famine like much of the world will. But a lot of the world, there will be people starving over the next year and the years to come. And our country is certainly going to experience shortages, and the prices are going to continue to go up even more than they have. I don't know how bad it'll get here. I don't know how expensive the food will get. I don't know how bad the food shortages will be. But I can say that I don't want to be caught without food. I want to be able to feed my family. When I was a kid, our parents had us work in the garden. We hated it and we didn't take it seriously. And I wish I had taken it more seriously. I wish I had learned more and gotten better at it. I've played with gardening on and off through the years, but I don't know what I think I need to know. I'm a great student of reading it, but actually getting out in the dirt and playing with it, I haven't done a lot of it. And then with the lifestyle change to trucking, it's really unrealistic to think that I'm going to have a garden right now. So the next best thing is to buy food while I can and save it in a way that it can be stored for a long period of time. And then, when I get off the road, which we plan to get off the road in about another 4 years, to get back into gardening and eat as much fresh food as I can. And here in Florida, North Florida, we're able to garden pretty much all year round. It does get cold in the winter months, but it doesn't freeze here. So cold weather crops can be grown during the winter, and then we have a long summer. And then, it does get beastly hot here from probably June through September. So there's some summer crops that grow, but pretty much people take the summer off in Florida like those up north take the winter off, and they don't grow in the summertime. Be that as it may, we're not gardening right now. When I'm at home, I'm always thinking about garden beds and preparing them and amending the soil and getting things ready so that 4 years from now, when we want to start seriously gardening, we can hit the ground running with our irrigation and we're ready to go. That doesn't solve my problem for right now, though. What would I do if I went to the grocery store and there was no food on the shelves? Do I have any food saved? Am I able to feed my family, which is pretty small right now? It's just Brooke and I. The answer until recently has been no. I don't have any food saved, and I would be unable to feed us if I didn't get serious about putting some food back. And I'm going to encourage all of you to do that as well. Come up with a plan and put some food aside so that you are able to feed your family. If it's just you, hey, you might want to wing it and you'll figure out how to fill your belly. But if you have a wife who may be at home, if you have kids that are looking to you to provide food for them, it's a huge responsibility. And how terrible would it be if you could not provide food for your family? So it's definitely something to think about. This isn't a doomsday video. This isn't like doom and gloom. I am very much of an optimist, but I'm also a realist. And I try very hard to stay away from politics on this channel because I do believe as a nation we're incredibly divided, and people are pretty much entrenched in their camps, and they believe what they believe because, I think most people are tuned into wherever they get their news, and they're not considering many, many different sources. But the truth of the matter is the media is not your friend. The government is not your friend. And if you're looking for those kinds of sources to give you accurate and valid information, I would challenge you to dig a little deeper and look for the real truth. So today, I just wanted to tell you what our plan is and kind of explain to you how it came about and how we're slowly over time getting a food plan put together to have a year's worth of food, 2 years worth of food, and continue to grow on down the road. About a year ago, I bought one chest freezer, 7 cubic feet. It's not a big, long chest freezer. It's about 4 feet long and about 4 feet deep. And quickly found out that wasn't big enough. We bought a side of beef. We bought half a cow, most of it in ground beef. We also have steaks and ribs and all the other things that roasts, all that come with it. And then we also grew 2 crops of our own chickens. We grew meat birds at home. We slaughter them and probably have about 30 chickens in our freezer, frozen and ready to go as well. That's our protein. But you know what? What happens if you don't have power? What happens if you can't keep that stuff frozen? It's all going to go bad. Well, 2 things. Our power did go off a month or so ago, and I was able to borrow my brother's generator. He had a really cool 2300 watt Ryobi generator. It's very quiet, doesn't take a ton of gas, but it was just enough power to keep my 2 freezers and my refrigerator going so that our food and this in the freezer and the stuff in the refrigerator did not go bad. Power was out for a couple days. Strangely enough, as soon as I made the move to get the generator hooked up, the power came back on. We really only had it for about a day, but I was glad because I figured out what worked for us, what I would need. That's the perfect little generator. And I'll put a picture up of it so you can see what it looks like. I guess they cost between maybe $500 and $1,000, depending on where you find it and if you find a deal. I returned that to him, but I'm planning to try to pick one of these Ryobi 2300 watt generators up from in a Black Friday deal, hopefully the day after Thanksgiving. So that's how I'm planning to keep my frozen and refrigerated food going in the short term if the power goes off. But what happens if the power goes off long term? What happens if the lights go off and they don't come back on? Well, our plan was, what we're going to do and what we have done is we have invested in a freeze dry machine. So we have bought a Harvest Right freeze dryer. I'll put a picture of that up here, and I'll also put a link below. But the idea with that is that we can freeze dry our meat and our chicken and our vegetables. And when you do that, if you package it properly, it's going to last up to 30 years. All you do is you open the package up, you reconstitute it, you add water back to it, and it's just like you cooked it right there. So we have that, and that was a big investment. We haven't been able to use it yet, but on our next trip home, we're going to start the process of freeze drying our beef, freeze drying our chicken, freeze drying fish, freeze drying sausage, all the sources of protein that we need, because really the body needs three things, right? You need protein, you need carbohydrates, and you need fats, all in the right amounts to give you enough nutrition. Now, if times were bad, and I believe they will be bad someday in the future, I'm not sure how far it'll be, none of us are, but I believe that one day you won't be able to go to the grocery store and buy food. And even if you can, I think you need to be ready just in case you can't, right? So we're going to have the freeze-dried food. We're also going to use that on our truck. We're planning to freeze-dry meats, which are very light. They're in a plastic bag. We'll bring that on a truck with us. We can mix water with it, heat it up, and make all kind of dishes ourselves. And so we don't have to eat at the truck stops. We can eat healthier food. And then, we have our carbohydrates, which can be potatoes, rice, beans. All that stuff can stay dry. And I'm going to show you my recent purchase just actually came in today. And this is why I'm doing the video today. I ordered all of that stuff, long-term storage, short of potatoes. I didn't buy potatoes. But all the other stuff, I spent about $500 today. And I've got a year's worth of corn to make cornbread, beans, different kinds of beans, and rice. And I'll come back and show you that later, what that is and the ones that I bought. But Azure Standard, that's AZURESTANDARD.com. It's an online service where you can buy bulk foods. And I'd encourage you all to check it out. Maybe start down a path of prepping foods for yourself. Remember now, this is emergency food planning. This isn't gourmet eating. This isn't like going to the grocery store and making shrimp scampi and Chateaubriand and all the things that you can do in a world where everything's at your fingertips. This is getting your body just what it needs to survive in tough times. That's carbohydrates, fats, and protein in the proper amount. And the proper amount's different for everybody based on your body weight and based on your level of activity. All of us today probably eat more of those things than we should. That's why we're all overweight, right? And we sit in a truck and we drive all day and we don't get enough exercise. But if things got bad and you had to work with your hands and you had to work in a garden and you were busy, you would need a lot more calories a day, and the calories in the right categories of things that you need. So it's different for everyone. I may do another video to explain to you how much you would need in tough times of each, but I've done those calculations for us. And so for Brooke and I know how much I need of protein, how much I need of carbohydrate, and how much I need of fat every single day to give our bodies the nutrients that we need to survive. Calculated it out, bought the buckets to put them in. I have food grade buckets and Mylar bags. They'll seal it up and put it in there. And once it's sealed in that bucket, this stuff can last for 30 years. So not to sound crazy or anything, but my goal is to have 5 years worth of food saved that doesn't have to be refrigerated or frozen, so that if the lights go out, we're able to eat. We would be able to feed ourselves. So then you say, well, what about if the electricity went off? What would you do then? Well, we have a plan for that too. We are lucky, blessed where we are, where we don't have city water. We have a well. Well, if the power goes out, I wouldn't be able to pull that water up out of the well. Got a fix for that. What do you think they did back in the old days? They had a hand pump. And you can order a hand pump, which we've done as well. And we have shallow wells for wells up to 25 feet. Just one of those old hand pumps that's about that tall, about this big. You sit it, you can actually drill the well yourself if it's shallow on your own property. You can hook that well up and you can pump your own water every day. So you have water, right? I have plenty of propane. I have a 750-gallon propane tank buried in my backyard. It was put back in to heat my pool, which it does when we want to heat up the hot tub. But in tough times, that would be an incredible extravagance. We would save that propane to cook with, right, if we didn't have electricity. So I'm planning to stub that out. I'm putting like an outdoor country kitchen off of my pool in the backyard where I'll be able to cook outside with propane if we didn't have electricity. So we got the water, we got the electricity, we got the food. That's our plan to survive if things got bad. And people say, well, how are you talking about? You're a truck driver. If things get as bad as they could, the country may shut down. God forbid, I hope it doesn't. And I think that, a lot of things would have to happen for it to get that bad. But, one of the last things that would shut down, I think, is food distribution, because people literally would starve. So as long as the country's able to supply us with food, truck drivers will keep running. So our jobs are pretty safe right now, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. And so I think it's smart for everyone to come up with a plan for how to feed yourselves and your family if there was no food. Now, I don't want you to go out to the grocery store and blow a bunch of money and diminish the little bit of stock that's in the store at one time. This is not a panic video at all. This isn't saying this is going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. I really have no idea when it's going to happen. But I do know that the things that are happening in our country and around the world have created a situation where food is going to be very scarce for the next few years. It's not going to get better for a while. And I don't know how bad it's going to affect us here. So it's in your best interest to plan for that. And, just get the basics. Get your meats, your beef, your chicken, your fish if you eat fish, or your pork, sausage, that kind of thing. If you're able to do it, invest in a freeze dryer. We bought ours from Harvest Right. That's pretty much the industry standard for home freeze drying machines. And then when you come home, start saving that stuff. Get on a plan to put a little away every time you come home. Get your dried goods. You can order from Measure Standard. You can buy it from the grocery store if you want, but it's a huge savings if you buy in bulk and you can buy online. Find your own source if you want to. Some of the bags of beans that I've bought, I got at a local health food store, and I didn't buy them from Azure Standard, but it's just a place that I found that is very good prices, and the service is awesome. So this place I think is out in Utah, and if I were to have had all of this stuff shipped to the house, it would have been very expensive, because I have probably 300 pounds worth of beans and rice and corn here. Well, they have a truck, and they have a truck that comes to every major city in the country. It stops along the way, and they schedule it with a person who handles it for them. And then people come to that location. And Brooke and I went over there this morning because our truck came in today. And it was so cool. Somebody hollered out, when they got there, oh, look, all the hippies are here. It's true, there were a lot of hippie kind of people, but there were a lot of homesteading type people as well, and folks that feel the way that we do about where we are in the world and the coming food shortage. And so it was such a spirit of working together on camaraderie. I mean, everybody got out of their cars. They were very nice to one another. We went up to the pallets, and the men were there grabbing the bags, 25, 50-pound bags of stuff, calling the people's name out. People would come up and get their stuff and take it back to the car. It was just a nice feeling to be around kind of like-minded people out there. So I'd encourage you to check out Azure Standard and also the Harvest Right freeze-dry machines. And if any of you have any questions about it, please put them in the comments below. If you have some ideas for more video or want to see more about food prep, we'd be happy to put them out there. One other thing that we've been saving for a long time is eggs. You know, as I've told you before, we have 15 egg layers. We have a family member that stays here at our house while we're gone, and she takes care of the chicken coop and collects the eggs for us. And then we save them with a system called water glassing. Really don't have anything to do with glass, I guess, because I used to put them in glass jars. We put them in plastic buckets in a water lime solution, and it keeps the eggs fresh for more than a year. Well, we've been saving eggs for almost a year now, so we probably have about 10 5-gallon buckets full of eggs. Well, what we're planning to do with that is we're going to freeze dry the eggs as well. So those will last indefinitely when we put them into jars or put them into buckets in the Mylar bags. They don't last very long as whole eggs, like you wouldn't be able to have a fried egg, but you scramble them up and then you put them in the freeze dryer, and it's crumbly. It's like a powder. You just put a couple spoonfuls into a bowl, add some water, you mix it back together, and you've got scrambled eggs that go into the skillet. So we're excited. I'm going to share some videos about some of the food that we start to make on the truck from the food that we freeze dried and things that we've bought along the way. And then when we get off the road, we will start to garden, and we'll share with you what we're growing here in North Central Florida, because you know what you grow in your part of the country may be very different. Your growing season's different. We'll cover what works well for us, and we'll also share some sources of people that we know that are gardening to grow their own food as well. Hey friends, as it turns out, we are finishing this video up on Thanksgiving Day. I want to take a moment just to wish you all a great day. Hope you get to spend it with family and friends, but if not, be safe on the road out there. As for Brooke and I, we're headed out to my brother's house to spend the day with his family, and we'll be back on the road tomorrow. Take the time to wish happy holidays to those that you love. Reach out and spend some time with them today if you can. That's all for Miss Brooke and Captain Dave at Simple Plan Trucking. Have a happy and safe holiday season.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.